This video is going to rewire how your brain approaches studying completely. I call it the cognitive GPS system. Once you understand this system, you will stop second guessing your study choices, your to-do lists, and even your revision strategy. And instead, you will start moving towards your goals with precision. Because here's the truth, most students, they don't fail because they're not smart enough, they fail because they're lost. They don't know where they are, they don't know where they're going, and they definitely don't know how to get there. Cognitive GPS is what fixes that. And no, this is not some cheesy metaphor, it's a literal system. Let me explain. See, every GPS needs three things: a destination, a current location, and a route. And your brain, when you're studying, works the exact same way. But here's the catch. Most students only focus on one of those three, usually just a destination. I want to get an A, or I want to pass this exam. But imagine typing, I want to go to Paris into your GPS and not telling it where you are currently. It cannot calculate a route. It has no idea how far you are, what you'll need, or what obstacles you might face. And that's exactly what's happening in your brain when you study without a system. And that is where this method comes in. And I didn't come up with this cognitive GPS system because I'm some naturally gifted genius. I actually started as a pretty average student. I was always working hard, but the results didn't reflect the effort. It wasn't until my master's degree, when I finally started figuring things out, that everything changed. I stopped copying what other people were doing, and instead of that, I started mapping out how my brain actually worked, what I lacked. And when I applied this system, the cognitive GPS, my grades shot up. I went from being an average student to being the top of my class, getting almost all straight A pluses. And not because I worked more hours, but because I stopped wasting them. And it all starts with this. Most students don't even know where they are in the learning process. They'll say things like, I don't know what to focus on, I study a lot but retain nothing, or just, I don't think I'm doing it right. And what they're actually saying is that I don't know where I am. And that is step one of the GPS. It's called cognitive positioning, where you figure out your exact mental location on the academic map. Not your GPA, not your calendar, your mental state. Ask yourself these three questions. Number one, what can I confidently recall from memory without looking at notes? Number two, what topics make me anxious when I picture the exam? And number three, what kinds of questions do I quietly avoid? Those three questions alone will tell you more about your academic position than any fancy planner ever will. This isn't vibes, this is real data from your own brain. But most people never do this. They just jump into a textbook and hope for the best. That's like walking through a foreign city with no map, no clue, and just vibes. You will burn energy but make zero progress. Now, once you answer these questions, then you can move on to part two, which is academic coordinates. This is where we go deeper into how your brain learns best and where it struggles. And there are 5 types of learning traits. Every student has this dominant trait and a weaker one. And here they are. Number 1 is information collector. You're great at absorbing content, reading notes, watching lectures, highlighting, but you struggle when it's time to apply that information. You're a sponge until the test happens. Number 2, conceptual thinker. You grasp the why behind ideas easily. You love patterns, systems, connections, but you skip the small details, and that can hurt on technical or fact-heavy exams. Number 3 is structured executor. You follow study plans well. You're organized, you're consistent, and disciplined. But you might get stuck in routines that don't actually help you improve. You follow a map even when it's the wrong one. Number 4 is pattern recognizer. You're good at spotting trends, formulas, and question types. But when things get abstract or conceptual, you fall apart. You love repetition, but you fear randomness. And number 5 is performance retriever. You're amazing during class or revision, but then you crash during tests. You panic, you forget, you freeze up. Your issue isn't understanding, it's performance under pressure. Now figure out which one you relate to the most, then pick your weakest one as well. That combination, those are your academic coordinates. Now once you know your academic coordinates, then you move on to part 3, which is route programming. This is how you build a study strategy that actually fits your brain, not someone else's, not a productivity influencer, yours. So let's say you're an information collector with weak performance retrieval, all right? Your problem is not learning, it's accessing what you learned under pressure. Now your strategy shouldn't be more lectures, it should be simulation. Here's what that looks like. Time yourself answering random past paper questions. Use flashcards without looking at notes first. Practice active recall in noisy or distracting environments to train pressure resistance. On the flip side, let's say you're a conceptual thinker who sucks at details. That means your strategy should include intentional memorization techniques, targeted fact sheets, low stakes repetition, which means reviewing flashcards daily for 5 minutes. See, every type and every trait has a counter strategy. And the beauty is that once you know your traits, you stop wasting energy on the wrong methods. But here's one final step that most people never do. Plotting your learning path from start to finish. This is where we get surgical. Pick one concept, just one concept, and then trace what you do with it from the moment that you first see it to the moment that you have to use it in an exam. So let's say, for example, that the concept is, Bernoulli's equation from physics. Here's what a path might actually look like. Day 1, you hear it in a lecture and then you write down notes. Day 2, you reread the notes and copy formulas into cheat sheets. Day 4, you do 1 practice problems from the textbooks. Day 6, you see it again in a worksheet, skip it because it's too hard, and then exam day, you freeze up because you still don't get it. So you see the problem, you interacted with the concept, but you never really learned it. You just touched it repeatedly. That is not learning. That is just surface exposure. Now, let us fix it. So here's how the upgraded path would look like for that same topic. Day 1, you watch the lecture. You pause every 5 minutes and you write your own summary. Day 2, you explain the formula out loud like you're teaching a 10-year-old. Day 4, you do 3 practice problems and write down what confused you. Day 6, you review your mistakes, you create flashcards for confusing parts. 1 week before the exam, you randomly test yourself using past papers. You simulate exam pressure. Now that is a full cognitive GPS route. From learning to actually using. No guessing, no praying that it will click the night before, but actually learning efficiently. So let me summarize the whole method again. Number 1 is you locate your position. What do you know confidently and what do you avoid? Number 2, identify your learning coordinates. Figure out your strongest and weakest cognitive traits. And then number 3, you build your route. Match your weaknesses with tailored strategies. Number 4, you plot your flow. Pick one topic and trace your interaction with it across time. Now this is how you get control back. Because right now, most students are flying blind. No route, no reflection, just study harder. But harder doesn't really mean better. Smarter means better. And here's the truth most people won't admit. You're not stuck because of laziness. You're stuck because you haven't seen yourself with clarity. Studying without this clarity is like lifting weights in the dark. You might be working hard, but you're not really hitting the right muscles. But once you map it out, every hour becomes targeted. Every session becomes sharper. Every mistake becomes data. And when you fix your GPS, you stop drifting. You start dominating instead. So start building your cognitive GPS now. You don't need motivation. You need navigation. Thanks for watching and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.